I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with a strong intro here with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. Chicken.
Oh, we're going to lose our sponsorships.
Hey, it's good chicken. It's really good chicken.
That's all right. I eat enough Chicken Express to pay for the sponsor.
That's
I
your
was gonna say, yeah.
Hillsboro.
No. We love you, Chicken Express. You are a delight to the senses. That's what that should be. Delight to the senses.
I like that.
It really is. You know what? That's the other thing. I went in and I picked it up. I didn't do the drive-thru the last time I went. I forgot how good that place smells. That place smells great. I just want to, like, if they made a candle that smelled like Chicken Express, I would absolutely burn it.
Now you're thinking of all kinds of good ideas.
Really?
We'll have to bring those in.
Call me Chicken Express. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. Let's talk about the saga of Conroe 2022 tight end Trent McGaughy. Okay, so Trent McGaughy, you may know that name. 2022 guy, so he's a senior. If you know that name, he was on Shadow Creek. He was part of Shadow Creek. He was on that 2019 title team, I want to say.
Yep.
He was on that 2019 title team. He then moved to New Jersey. To New Jersey. We said, bye, Trent. Have fun in New Jersey.
See you never, bud.
And then he's back in Pog form at Conroe. And he's showed up and he's showing out again. He's a 3-star prospect. We've reactivated his profile on the site. He has 40 offers. This is welcome back. He's back.
I've learned a stiff lesson on the recruiting profiles.
Don't delete.
ACT. Don't delete them. Inactivate them. And then if they come back, you just have to turn it back on, which was easy enough to do this morning, whenever we were putting the notebook together to turn his profile back on. How happy is Conroe to get a guy who helped lead a team to a 16-0 record and a state championship game as a sophomore at Shadow Creek, and now they're putting him on their roster. He missed 2020 with an injury, so we haven't seen a lot of him, but I'm excited to see what's going to play out. Now that he's back in Texas, he's reported over 40 scholarship offers throughout his recruitment, some really big names on that list. At the time that we deactivated his profile, I kind of thought, Miami and LSU were two of the ones that stood out. Those were the two schools that I felt were the most pertinent to list. He hasn't really picked up a lot of offers since the spring of the 2020 year. I think only one offer from UNLV maybe came in since that time. So it'll be interesting to see which schools are major factors for him. He took an unofficial visit, I believe, to Oklahoma this past weekend. They haven't offered him yet, but you can see that he's on the radar of some big-time schools. I don't know. I just feel like this one's got a Houston vibe to me. I don't know why. I think this is a guy that would really be a key piece for a Cougars team and may fit in well to that offense because he's a more of a pass-catching tight end. Mm-hmm. He's not a guy he's a good point of attack blocker, solid. I wouldn't describe that as the strength of his game. Get him the football, let him make some moves. He's more of an H-back, split out wide type of tight end.
Yeah, more of a big-time receiving threat as opposed to a guy you want as an inline guy. And certainly Conroe enjoying having a guy show up like that, be like, hey, can I play? That's pretty darn good. Prospect on the rise, Trent McGaughy from Conroe. Now, let's go to our commit of the week. Pickle. It's time to talk about the troops. Because Denton Guyer 2022 running back BJ Phillips has committed to Army.
How about that?
The troops, who are undefeated.
There you go.
Go Troops.
Also, the best jerseys in college football. One of the best jerseys in college football.
The whole look, the black and
They're
gold is
real
so good. Anyway, maybe that's a reason why BJ Phillips went there. He had offers from Sam Houston, and he also had offers from the other two service academies, Air Force and
troops.
Navy. The other troops. You've got
Aqua
Air
Troops.
Troops and Aqua Troops, but he chose Troops over them. He's heading to Army, and a big reason why Guyer's off to a 4-0 start.
Yeah, and this is a rugged and tough runner. I think he fits into that Army offense to a T. This is the guy who really enjoys running over you versus running around you, although he does have some good acceleration. I wouldn't describe him as a speed back. I'm categorizing him as a tough downhill type of guy. But you can see him here playing against Hebron in the first clip. He's not getting ran down. Hebron's got guys. You see a guy catching up to him there, not going to catch him. That's a 75-yard touchdown. So he has a lot of decent skills. Jackson Arnold has been the key to that offense so far in 2021, but as this thing goes down the stretch and pushes into the playoffs, they will lean heavily on Phillips.
It's funny because we're watching a lot of these, and these are the highlights, obviously,
Right.
and we're watching a lot of these breakaway touchdowns. When I think of B.J. Phillips, when I watch him, I think like a thumper. Like
Right.
he's a guy who's like, all right, like it's 3rd and 2, and you need 3 yards, and you just hand it to him, and it's automatic. You know what I mean? And which is obviously a perfect fit for an offense like Army where they run the triple. And yeah, he's a guy who I think is going to fit right in. And by the way, I think has a great chance of leading Geyer deep into the playoffs and maybe all the way to AT&T Stadium. I mean, he's the guy that they haven't needed as much in the early going.
I think he's got like 150-ish yards so far.
Yeah, they
through
haven't
4
needed
games.
as much, but when it gets to big boy football time, like where they're going to go, and it's going to go to B.J. Phillips.
Look at it. Thumper's the perfect way to describe him, especially when you get these tight angle highlight clips. You can see that type of guy. But look, he's got some explosion in the middle of that offense. Watching the Texan Live broadcast of the game last week, Geyer's loaded. Yeah, this is a team that's loaded for bear. And one thing that stuck out to me is that they have these good offensive players, but that defense is pretty salty.
Yeah, that defense got 4. They got 4 FBS kids in the secondary, which is very impressive. They've also got an FBS kid at the running back spot in B.J. Phillips, the new commitment to Army. Go Troops! This week in recruiting with Greg Powers and XL Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Let's go to our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week. Let's talk about a sophomore.
So you can say that 2024 makes you feel oof.
Edge guy. We'll call him an edge guy.
Yeah, let's
Defensive
do
end,
it.
outside linebacker Colin Simmons for Duncanville. He picked up an offer from Texas last week. He had an interesting week because he may end up, at 6'1", 210, he may end up profiling as an outside linebacker, but they lined him up off the edge last week against DeSoto in place of Amari Abor, who was out with an injury and still came up big. This is a guy who I know is one of those young guys that Duncanville's pretty excited about getting more reps on the varsity level.
Talk about perfect timing. He gets his break while the UT coaches are in attendance. You know what I mean? To start for an injured 5-star and has a 5-star type of game himself.
Yeah.
The first play here against DeSoto that he had on this week's highlight clip, you saw the explosion and speed off the edge that he's bringing. 6'1", 210, I'd like to see what he can do at linebacker too. Will he grow and be the type of guy who sticks at defensive end, or will he be a hybrid, or will he be a true linebacker? I think all those are details that will be sorted out, but there's no doubt that he was a terror to DeSoto and made a lot of big plays and got his name on the radar. We speak a little bit later with Guy Frazier, who was in attendance at this game, about Colin Simmons and what his impressions were of him. It just so happened that this is the underclassman who picked up the biggest offer also in state this week. And, man, it must be nice sometimes to kick back and be Reggie Samples.
Yep.
Picking up your 300th win this week, putting out the type of players that Duncanville puts out year in,
Your 5-star
year
defensive
out.
end can't go in your district opener, and we're like, hey, kid who's been itching to play,
right?
Who may in fact be himself a high ceiling prospect.
Go out there and get that Texas
You want to play?
offer.
Yeah, exactly right.
That was 1 week highlights of him, but if you want to have a whole lot of fun just watching somebody dominate JV competition, we talked
Cool,
about this when
man.
we discovered Anthony Hill. This is a guy who has a monster JV take.
Oh, does he?
Had a lot
One of those you
he
just
had a
kind of
lot
feel
fun as a
bad for
freshman.
the other
Yeah.
team at that point.
Yeah, that'll happen. Let's get to our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week is a name you may know down in the Houston area. It's Umbla-Tascasita offensive tackle Cameron Dewberry went on an official visit this week to Oklahoma. Watched Oklahoma play with their food against Nebraska, but eventually win. I have to give you know who's going to be terrible about this? Erin Hart again. Awful about it. She's a Nebraska person. Anyway, he has now used 4 of his 5 NCAA allowed visits. He's gone to Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, and A&M. It sounds like he's gonna finish at Alabama, but seemed to have a good time at Oklahoma, and so they've certainly put their best foot forward.
Right. And this is one that's hard to read because Dewberry seems like one of those guys who is high on his latest official visit. Coming out of the Ohio State official visit, you saw a lot of predictions coming in for the Buckeyes. They made a huge step forward while he was in Columbus. For me, I have a hard time believing that an Atascocita guy doesn't go to A&M. Like, I just can't buy the hype for whatever reason. You know, I know that Alabama is going to make a strong play probably on his last official visit. Oklahoma is always going to make a strong case. They're in the national title hunt every year, but my brain isn't working in a way that says this kid won't.
Well, it's Kenyon Green disease.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's Kenyon Green who it's like, you mean the last superstar offensive tackle to come out of Atascocita?
Right.
They've got another one? Oh, okay. I bet he does the same thing. But at the same time, you always tell me, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
Very true.
And he's finishing at Alabama. I also have a hard time feeling like this is one that Nick Saban's going to let get away.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue it. Like I said, it's in recruiting it can be fickle, especially on guys who ride the waves of emotion following official visits. Mm-hmm. And this is more like old school traditional recruiting where these guys are uncommitted into their senior season and signing day is approaching, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when these colleges can throw all of the bells and whistles at them and woo them on the official trip. That's why it always used to be uber important to get the last trip, the fifth trip. That's the one you want because you want to have the last shot at getting them on your campus.
You want to be the last voice they hear.
You want to say, hey, you've seen all these other guys. Here's what we can bring that's better than them. That gives you a market advantage. We just don't see it as much now because so many of these recruits make early decisions. I mean, these guys are making decisions before they ever step on the field. As seniors, this year's a little bit different where you have top guys like Denver Harris, Cameron Dewberry, Abor. A lot of these top guys are still playing this process out. So I think it's going to be an exciting lead up to the early signing period where I do think you'll see a lot of these guys sign.
Sure, and then there's also hat science. I mean, hat science is its own realm of things where you get the hats out there and you try to figure out based on the bend of the bill.
You never go with the floppy hat.
Like, you think the bucket hat is a no?
The bucket hat is a no, or the hat that has like the brass snap on the back. You know, you got two. You got two fitted hats and a brass snap.
The dad hat.
Yeah.
Because the fitted hats, you're going to know exactly which size that you need. That makes sense. Okay. We did have one question for Powers real fast in the comments. Levi Niebush wanted to know if you have any bets on where Major Everhart is going, the running back out of Amarillo, Tascosa.
Well, he is fresh off of an official visit to Notre Dame, and that's his biggest offer. I'm watching that one closely. He has difference-making speed. If he gets away from Texas Tech, it'll be a massive blow to them. They've pushed all in on Major Everhart. He also has offers from TCU and Baylor. But, man, Notre Dame, there's just something about Notre Dame. I think to a lesser degree that Notre Dame offer would speak to a guy like Major Everhart that the Stanford offer does to a lot of people. You know, it's just like a really good blend of academics and football. So we'll see how it plays out. Could stay at home, go to Texas Tech, but let's go hedge my bets towards Notre Dame at this point.
Okay.
All right.
A guy who we never
Irish.
hedge our bets on.
No.
It's Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, please stick around because we need you to intro the next segment. Can you do that?
I'll do it.
Can you please?
I will.
Will you
I'll
stick around,
stay.
please? Will you do that? Thanks.
Yes.
We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. And now, a word from our partners. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.